I know it's not the most popular opinion out there, but the single biggest reason why many people fail to achieve and maintain the results they want in the gym is because they're working far too hard in their workouts. So greetings, my friend, Matt Schifferle back again with another video to help you be fit and live free. And today we're looking at why a lot of the work you're doing in the gym may not really be helping you all that much. In fact, it could be holding you back. And why we're doing this is because we're basing our workouts on a flawed premise. And instead, we're gonna look at something that's a lot more efficient, easier on mind, body, and lifestyle, and potentially a hell of a lot more effective. So like many, when I started my fitness career, I was kind of brought up under the stress and recovery theory on how fitness worked. The idea was you go into the gym, you lift the weights and you run a lot, and you basically have the goal of working yourself into the ground in order to create stress. Stress on the body, stress on the muscles, stress on your heart and stuff. And then after that stress, you allow recovery. And it's during the recovery that you engage in something called supercompensation, where if the stress was high enough, then you build yourself back up, and then you build up just a little more than you had before, a little more muscle, a little more strength, a little more endurance, and so on. And that's how you get progressive results, and you just repeat that cycle ad nauseum. And that certainly can work to a large degree, especially if you're just beginning. You can basically get results doing almost anything hard to your body. But there's a lot of ways that this model is criticized, especially these days, when we're simply either in the evidence-based research and anecdotally recognizing, wait, there's a lot of people putting their body under a lot of stress, and they're not getting bigger and stronger. Marathon runners are always a common example here of like, go out for a long run and you're gonna incur far more stress on your leg muscles and incur a lot more damage to your muscles as well from that run than you would during a set of heavy squats. And yet no one's going to say, well, running is far better at building bigger, stronger legs than doing squats and lunges. And yet the real damage of this is when we believe it's all about the stress. I gotta stress. You're chasing after work. You're basically going into the gym with the objective of, I'm just gonna drive myself into the ground. I'm gonna leave it all in the gym. Make no mistake, stress is certainly part of the equation, but is it the main driver? And I would argue, after several decades of training people, and myself especially, the answer is absolutely not. Your body's not changing because of stress, or at least solely because of stress, but instead the model needs to change a little bit. So instead of thinking I'm there to impart stress upon my body, I'm in the gym trying to create a stimulus. A stimulus may look like stress on paper. You see one guy doing push-ups trying to create a stimulus, the other person chasing after the stress. It may look exactly the same, but what your objective is very different. Because a stimulus is all about essentially kind of downloading new instructions into your body. You're teaching your body what you want it to functionally do to a higher level. It's not about just driving yourself into the ground and assuming it's going to work out. It's about going in and programming your workouts and selecting the right exercises, the right sets and reps and everything to say, hey body, I need you to be able to do this thing for me. And creating that demand for that stimulus is certainly going to be stressful, but that's just the cost of entry. Then, instead of recovery, because recovery is automatic, you're always going to recover. You don't need to do anything for recovery. It's always going to happen completely on autopilot. But instead of recovery, you want to think of adaptation, because you're creating a stimulus. But just because you're creating a stimulus does not in any way, shape, or form mean that you're going to get the changes that you want. Because a stimulus is kind of like lighting a match when you're trying to build a fire. It's like, okay, I lit the match. How come I don't have a fire? Like, you can create a very good stimulus and yet never get the results that you want, because it's what you're applying the stimulus to that will allow adaptation to occur. If your diet is terrible and your lifestyle is always just keeping you down and you're not allowing yourself to grow and your sleep sucks and your stress management sucks and everything, you can have the greatest workout in the world telling your body, I need you to be bigger and faster and stronger, but your body's still gonna be like, yeah, with what, dude? You don't have the energy, you don't have the food, you don't have the ability to adapt to it, so therefore, you're not going to. And yet we keep thinking, well, if I'm not building muscle, something must be wrong with my workout. It's kind of like lighting a match and dropping it on a concrete sidewalk saying, there's no bonfire, something must be wrong with the match. But no, that's not what's happening. Creating an adequate stimulus, in this case for building muscle, we're challenging our muscular work capacity, pushing the muscles to the point where they're kind of struggling to get a few reps. Good, stimulus achieved. Will you build muscle? Depends on what you're applying the stimulus to. Do you have your sleep dialed in? Are you eating plenty of good, wholesome foods? And even things you don't have control over, like genetics. If you just don't have the genetics that allow for that adaptation to much occur, it's simply not going to. But nonetheless, this model gives us much more clarity and direction over what we need to do rather than just endlessly driving ourselves into the ground with blood, sweat, and tears workouts, crossing our fingers and hoping through sheer luck that it's going to happen. We train with the purpose of creating an adequate stimulus, and we have a satisfying diet and adequate sleep and other ways that we can allow the adaptation to occur. And that's what's going to give us the best chance for achieving and maintaining what we want rather than just endlessly chasing after work and driving ourselves into the ground. I detail more strategies on how to do this, of course, in my book, Micro Workouts and Be Fit, Live Free. Link is down below. You can get these things on PDFs and Kindles and stuff on Amazon and stuff. But thank you very much for watching. Best of luck in your workouts this week. Be fit and live free.